Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We just got done with some comfy music, and we're going to move on to a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what you want me to check out. Today's special selection comes at us from Connor Jansen. It says Dreams of Light by Marsh of Swans. Thanks, Bryan. Appreciate your analytical style and love the channel. Thanks, CJ. We're going to get into this. We got some Dreams of Light. Marsh of Swans. I'm going to constantly forget which one of those is the band and which one's the song. So let's get into this. Let's see what's up. Whoa. Just heavy snare all throughout this. Interesting stuff on the cymbal too. For the most part, it's all downbeats. But there's one section where it's on like the end of 2 and then 4. So it's almost like black metal, but there's actually a lot of brightness to it, even this part right here. That snare is kind of making me want to dance a little, but it's so weird because it's most definitely the black metal sounds, but without the like overwhelming negativity and oppression that the genre tends to utilize. Like blackened indie. is that a thing? Listen to the cymbals right here. so there's something very interesting going on about the cymbals during those faster sections. Ooh, that compression though. I have to ask if anybody knows if this drummer did marching snare. Interesting little triple thing going on with the cymbal there. Alright, so we got a little bit of variation on this idea, mostly in the drums. Yeah, interesting stuff. I really like being presented with ideas like this that really push what I've come to expect out of specific sounds or tones or mixes, and that is exactly what's happening here. I'm presented with a very black metal song, both in the mix and in a lot of the structure and the tropes that are used compositionally. We have that really gritty, compressed, almost wall of sound style of mix. We have the growls that are mixed lower into the instrumentation, and it kind of fits as another texture rather than a melody line to be played over top the rest of the band. We have tons of attacks. We have tremolo picking on the guitars. We have wild, speed and precision in the drums. It is black metal in every aspect, except it is just so dang happy. Seriously, this is it's really throwing my brain for a loop. It's an interesting combination and I like it. I think the most interesting part, I mean, of course, the guitars playing the sort of indie rock melody stuff is, I think, is definitely one of the more interesting aspects and one of the more defining parts of this song that really separate it from the most of the traditional black metal that we've checked out. But also the drumming. The drumming plays a huge role in how each of these sections feel. There is definitely the very traditional blackened drumming style. Lots of notes, lots of bass kick, lots of snare, just lots of attacks, really punchy stuff. But there's also more of like pop rock, pop punk stuff going on as well. There's one section that, due to the accented snare work and almost minimal bass work, it comes off as kind of dancey. There's a part at the end where you pick up like a pop punk gallop kind of idea. It kind of goes for high energy instead of high intensity. Keeps that same, that same level of power, but just not the oppressiveness that the blackened drums typically bring to the table. Um, so I think between the guitar and the drums, that's really where two of the strongest differences come through. But I think the interesting thing is how it all just works. Um, a lot of the song sounds very similar to me, which is probably just going to be my ears not being too used to black and metal yet. Once we get a lot of attacks, and the mix really removes a lot of the individuality between the voices and creates more of a singular wall of sound idea, a big sphere of sound. I begin to kind of lose vision on the, or lose audio on the notes themselves, and it comes to a point where I really only start to pick up rhythms, and several of these sections are very rhythmically similar. It really is a few of the sections where the drums change up their rhythms, and actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think the drums, for the most part, are where I kind of set these moments of change. I divide the song by what the drum's doing at the time. And it's probably because I end up having to focus more on the rhythmic structure than the melodic one, due to how everything's kind of coming together in a way to erase the sort of melodic elements in the track. And I don't mean erase like they're gone. It just makes it more difficult for me to pick them out because I'm not used to listening to a mix like this. I'm used to much more cleaner mixes where I can more easily individually pick out the instruments. But I'm sure for people who listen to a lot of black and metal, you can hear all the nuance really easy on your first time. And I'm sure I'll get there eventually. Well, I will definitely get there eventually, especially given how often black metal shows up on the channel. I think if we did a black and metal week, having that injection of 5 back-to-back days of checking out music like this, I will quickly acclimate to it. I'm pretty sure that's what did it for me with growls as well. We did amazing growls week, I think is what we called it. 5 back-to-back days of growling vocals, and that was definitely a turning point, at least for me, in beginning to hear differences. And I think that's the important thing, is having them back to back, so I have something immediate to compare them to. Whereas black and metal, uh, pretty much every time it comes up, it's after weeks or maybe months between the last one. And while I have heard maybe a dozen black and metal songs by now, they've just done it such an interval that I don't really have anything to relatively compare them to. So they end up getting categorized in my brain as very similar ideas. So yeah, maybe we should be doing a black and metal week soon, just to get myself more familiarized with that genre. So yeah, let's get back to the song though. I got sidetracked there. So we have this very black and metal sound, but it has these brighter, poppier, dancier elements to it, and it's a very interesting idea. But somehow it comes together. I don't think that the oppressive elements are running counterintuitive to sort of the brightness. I think it kind of comes together and creates a unique feeling that I don't have a name for. But it's enjoyable in one sense. The growls are still something that I just kind of push away. I don't necessarily ignore them, but they do become part of the background element of the song. Um, I don't think this song would work with clean vocals. I think we could probably have higher pitched vocals, especially the blackened vocals, but I really don't like those. That's something I really have not come around to yet. Um, but yeah, so I think this is. I mean, you can definitely tell this is a. I had that turning point with Girls because I think if I had listened to this a year ago, even a year and a half ago, I would have probably said something along the lines of, "I wish the vocals had done something else." And having more experience with this type of music, I don't think anything else would have really worked here. I think the growls work well, even though I'm not a huge fan of them and I just kind of pushed them into the background. But as a lot of people have commented to me when we've checked out music like this, that's kind of the purpose of them. They're another texture to sit within the music. Went on another tangent. I do want to talk about that middle section though. I think it was closer to the end, but still in the middle, so like 60%, 70% way through the song. Um, we got rid of almost everything and went to just guitars, I think it was. And then we brought in a hyper compressed drum. It felt like it was just, a pin needle in front of me of sounds. Um, and that lasted for all of a bar, maybe 2 bars, and then the compression got turned all the way off. Well, okay, the compression got returned to where it was, and the song went back to full bodied, at least as full as it was beforehand. And I don't I don't really understand the purpose of it. It's interesting. It caught me off guard. I enjoyed the novelty of it. Never heard anything like that before, but I don't know that it did anything to aid the song, and maybe it has something to do with the lyrical themes. It's called Dreams of Light. Um, and the light actually does kind of shine through in the guitar work a little bit, but the dream aspect I didn't really pick up other than that middle bridge section. A hyper compressed drum kit is very not normal, which could be attributed to some sort of dream state, but I could also just be reading real heavy into the title when there's plenty of lyrics that could also be carrying some of this. I don't know. I think that's kind of my big thing walking away from this is that it's an interesting idea. It got my attention, but there's a lot of things in here that I don't quite get. This is an interesting week. I think this is the third time I've walked away from a song with more questions than I've answered. Um, oh, I do want to talk about the opening and outro. They use ambient rain tones. I think the first one is actually complete like a storm. I think there's a lot of it. The outro is a lot shorter. I think it was more concise in its atmosphere, more like water dripping. I don't remember now actually, but I think it's really interesting to bookend a song called Dreams of Light with these moments of not dreamlike, present realm darkness. There are very few places I think that it rains and storms the way that the audio is suggesting when it's light out. I happen to live in Florida. I have seen daylight showers. I have seen ridiculous storms with sunlight, but I understand that that's not normal. So, like I said, I think it's interesting to bookend that, unless that could also be, somebody sleeping through a storm, having the storm lull them to sleep, and them dreaming of brighter times, and then they wake up at the end and they're back in the storm. Remember, the storm's beginning to pass. Like I said, the ending was a bit sparser on the atmospheric sound. So it could be that the storm's beginning to pass, and they had, dreams of what it would be like after the storm, during the storm, and when they woke up, the storm was leaving, and they could return to their daylight and whatever they wanted to. And again, that's kind of like a really positive, happy, fairy tale-esque reading of the music, and it ties in with some of the brighter elements in the guitar work, and the happier, poppier stuff going on in the drums. And I think it's very interesting that they choose to use black metal as the vehicle to deliver these emotions and ideas and to tell this story, assuming I'm anywhere close on that. But yeah, I think that's where we're gonna end this. It's an interesting combination that I would never expect, but works. And I'm honestly kind of curious how they came to this. I see they only have 6 subscribers. We're gonna change that. We're gonna help them, give them a little boost in the algorithm. This song only has 300 views, and it's from 4 years ago. But I am really curious how they came to this. They're like, hey, we want to write, some happy pop punk, pop rock kind of music, but we only know how to play black metal. Let's just marry the two ideas. I don't see a situation where this would be a conversation people would have. I just think it's an interesting vehicle to deliver these stories in. So, yeah, I guess if anybody knows how they came to create this combination of sound, I would love to hear that story. I would. Those are my thoughts on Marsh of Swans, Dreams of Light. This is where you guys come in. Now hit me up with some comments. Let me know if you enjoyed this or not, anything that stuck out to you, if you have any information about how this happened, how this band came to be, or maybe not even necessarily the band, how this song came to be. For all I know, they play traditional black metal usually, and they decided to try something a little brighter and happier for this single song. In which case, I mean, I have more questions there. Oh, man. When you're done commenting, head up to the description box. There's a link in there for Linktree, which will take you to a menu with everything related to the channel. Twitter, Discord, Patreon, special selections, all sorts of stuff is in there. Above the description box, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC, as usual. We'll be checking out another comfy song and then the last special selection for the week. Alright, until next time, remember to be critical but not cynical of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.